Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Announcing the Game, where professional public address announcers share their expertise and best practices to help to make you a better public address announcer. I'm Tom Winicky. I've announced at the high school level for quite a while now. I announced at Fayetteville Manlius High School in New York State for football, soccer, field hockey, basketball, ice hockey, wrestling, volleyball, lacrosse, baseball, and track and field. I've announced Section 3 championships in New York State for football, field hockey, boys and girls basketball, and boys and girls lacrosse. And I also still announce the New York State championships for girls lacrosse and for football. I now primarily announce for Colgate University of the Patriot League and for Syracuse University of the Atlantic Coast Conference. Now at this level, I've announced football, soccer, field hockey, volleyball, basketball, ice hockey, lacrosse, and softball. I am also the NASPA Public Address Announcer of the Year for 2017. In this episode of Announcing the Game, we'll talk about volleyball. We'll go over things that you need to know to be able to announce a volleyball match effectively, from understanding official signals to what's appropriate to announce, as well as some rules to be aware of when announcing your next match. So let's serve up that first bit of volleyball knowledge. Now there are some subtle differences between men's and women's volleyball at the college level or boys and girls volleyball at the high school level. But for the most part, everything that we have to deal with as public address announcers are pretty similar. The lines on a volleyball court for a collegiate match for men and women or for a high school match with boys and girls are the same. The height of the net for men's and women's matches may be different, but as far as we're concerned as PA announcers, that really doesn't matter. If you find yourself announcing a beach volleyball match, the main difference is the number of players. There are 6 players on an indoor match, and there are only 2 for a beach volleyball match. Scoring is the same. We'll get into those scoring details later on in this tutorial. The lines that you see on an indoor court don't exist on the sand on a beach volleyball court. The lines we'll talk about for indoors, you won't have to worry about in that beach match. But again, most everything else is just the same. For any sport that we announce, volleyball included, there are typical duties that we have to prepare for each match. Rule number 1, always get the names pronounced correctly. Rule number 2, never break rule number 1. So, how do we go about getting this information? While a general rule of thumb is to avoid head coaches for this, and this is especially true at the college level, if at all possible, respect these folks' pregame routines. I like to get to a college match at least 75 to 90 minutes prior, so I can look for the SID, that's Sports Information Director, on site for the team, or maybe find an athletic trainer, or at a last resort, an assistant coach. Now these folks may send me to the head coach for pronunciations, and that's fine if they initiate this contact. I, though, won't. Now there will always be college coaches who are more than willing to help us out. But again, as a show of respect for what they have on their minds on match day, look for these other people to help you with names and pronunciations. For those college matches, I've gotten into the habit of calling the SID ahead of time to get those pronunciations for the names and hometowns. These folks, they're not only surprised that I do this, but they're also very impressed with my efforts. This is a great way, folks, to start to develop a positive relationship with these people. Some schools have even started creating video rosters. They record the players saying their own names and their own hometowns, or they link audio files to their lineups on their online rosters. You may see an ear icon next to each player's name on that roster. Click on the ear to hear the audio file. Now this information is priceless. It makes our jobs easier and takes a lot of the legwork out of getting pronunciations. Now, at the high school level, head coaches are often more than happy to go over their names with us. They really appreciate this. They may not even be used to having a PA announcer handle their matches beyond just starting lineups. Again, be respectful of their pregame to-do list, so be sure to get to these people at least an hour early, or maybe more, just to be safe. Now, they may also be able to give you their starting lineups ahead of time. Now, this is a big help because the NFHS states that starting lineups are due 2 minutes prior to the first serve. So if you can get this information earlier, that'll make those moments before the match just a little bit less hectic. Now, going back to announcing college matches, our pre-match, in-match, and post-match announcements at this level will be provided to us by the marketing department, or the SID. Now, it's always a good idea to ask for these scripts ahead of time so you can rehearse them before match day. At the high school level, your athletics director may provide scripts for you, or they may say something like, I'd like you to say something beforehand, include something about sportsmanship, announce the national anthem, then do starters. Now, if that's the case, when you come up with a formal script, be sure to run it by them ahead of time so they can either approve it or make any changes that they see fit. No matter whether it's high school or college, when writing our own scripts, I always refer to our opponents as our guests. They practice each day just like our kids do. They do their schoolwork at all hours just like our players do. So by saying our guests, it's just a small way to throw some well-earned respect their way. So let's talk about what you should bring with you to your match so you are as prepared as possible. Number one are those rosters. Colleges will have them online. Now, we just mentioned getting the pronunciations. Some high schools now post their rosters online. If not, call the secretary in your high school's athletic office and ask for them. Teams coming in to play your high school volleyball team will often send rosters in ahead of time so the athletic office can print out match day programs. Now, be sure the rosters you get are sorted numerically. An alphabetically sorted roster is of no use to us. Now, waiting until you get to the match site to ask for rosters is taking a chance. There may or may not be extra rosters there for you. The time it may take to track down an extra set of rosters only takes away from your time to get pronunciations, infringing on that coach's pregame routine time. When you go to a high school coach or an SID or an assistant coach or someone else at the college level for pronunciations and you already have their roster, it shows them that you're prepared and take what you're doing for them seriously. Now, as far as a stat sheet goes, you probably won't need one for a volleyball match. This is not a sport like basketball where you need to keep track of personal fouls and team fouls for your in-game announcements. Now, volleyball also has red and yellow cards, similar to what you might see in a soccer game, but we'll get into those a little bit later on. Once you have your rosters printed, the next question is, how do you want to use those rosters beyond announcing starting lineups? Maybe you use it to mark starters you'll need to bring highlighters with you. How about some pencils? Make sure they have erasers to mark substitutes as they enter in the substitution zone. Don't forget one of those small pencil sharpeners as well, because you know if you don't have one, Murphy's Law says you're going to need one. Do you have something to drink? Water is best. Do you use throat lozenges? Well, look for lozenges whose first ingredient is pectin, not menthol. Menthol dries out your throat. The pectin won't. You could check out our other free tutorial in our series about voice care for more helpful tips on keeping your voice in shape. When announcing our matches, remember that we're not on our own. Rather, we're all part of a team that produces an event that runs smoothly for the athletes, the officials, and the fans. Besides the SID and marketing people for a college match, or an athletics director or site supervisor for a high school match, someone else on our team are the officials. Now, at any level, it's always a good idea to introduce yourself to the officials before the match. You can review the pre-match routine with them, ask them if they want to be introduced after the starters, as well as letting them know where you are in case they want anything special announced. If you'd like more ideas about working with officials, well, check out our free tutorial again on our website here called Working with Officials. For starting lineups, it depends on what your home team wants. Just names and numbers, or other information like height, year in school, position, or maybe a hometown for a college match. You already have the pronunciation, so you just need to know what else you're supposed to add. The libero is a position that is a different type of player. Now, while they may not be introduced as a starter, they will often substitute in before the first serve. How you pronounce this position may depend on the part of the country you're from. It may be pronounced libero or libero. Both are fine. If you aren't sure, just ask. Now, when they do substitute in, you announce them as substitution for the orange at libero, number 12, Amy Smith. Now, there are specific rules about subbing for this position that we as PA announcers don't necessarily need to know. We just need to know that they are now in the set as a libero. Now, I had previously mentioned working with marketing at the college level for scripts. Now, be sure to go off their cues when reading the match copy. They have everything scripted, and it's our job to read what they want when they want it read. Now, here are some examples of a pregame run of scripts, starting off with a welcome, sportsmanship, national anthem, then the starting lineups along with the officials. You could use this template for a high school or a college match. Let's see what you think. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Fayetteville Manlius High School for today's volleyball match between the Cazenovia Lakers and our Fayetteville Manlius Hornets. All schools in Section 3, including Fayetteville Manlius and Cazenovia, strive to make sportsmanship a number one priority at every home event. Spectators, you should be loud, be proud, and be positive toward all players, coaches, officials, and other fans. Inappropriate comments will be addressed by the appropriate site personnel. So enjoy today's match. And now, ladies and gentlemen, at this time we ask that, if you are able, to please rise and please remove your hats as you face our flag with your right hand over your heart to honor America with the playing of our national anthem. Now, on an aside, if you'd like more information on how to best announce the national anthem and the protocols behind it, check out our free tutorial doing this on our website called National Anthem. So let's get back to those pregame run of scripts. Now we'll talk about starting lineups. Now let's get right to today's starting lineups. First, for our guests, the Lakers from Cazenovia High School. Did you see how I referred to them as our guests? You should then go on to introduce each player by position, number, and name. After you finish and introduce the last starter, you would introduce the head coach and any assistant coaches. And then you would go on to introduce the home team, saying something like this. And now let's meet the starting lineup for our Fayetteville Manlius Hornets, followed by each of the 6 starters by position, number, and name, or including any other information that the head coach wants. Once all starters have been introduced, you would introduce the head coach and the assistant coaches for the home team. I would always like to finish by introducing the officials after the starting lineups. That is, after checking with the officials to make sure that they're okay with that. It could sound something like this. Officials for today's match are certified by the New York State Certified Volleyball Officials Association. Our officials this afternoon, our first referee, Mr. Jim Smith. Our second referee, Ms. Amy Jones. Manning the lines this afternoon, Mr. Tom Adams. It may be a small thing, but I always use the prefixes Mr., Mrs., or Ms. when introducing the officials. Again, it's just my way of showing them a little bit of respect. If your high school has certain in-match ads that they want read, be sure to get some kind of timing sheet from the athletics director to see when they want these ads read. If they don't, or they just tell you to get in as many as you can, remember, in doing that, we never want to talk over game action. Use things like timeouts or the time between sets when teams change sides for these reads. Just be sure that you finish reading before the lead official blows their whistle to resume play and authorize the next serve. Now, going back to your meeting with officials pre-match, This is another good thing to run by them to be sure that you'll have enough time to finish reading anything without holding up the match. Now, the next point is more for the high school level. What if you also handle in-match music? When does the athletics director or head coach want this music played? Who has screened this music? Don't ever let a player say, here's our playlist for you, without asking who screened the songs. Then confirm with that person before playing anything. A good rule of thumb for music, especially at the high school level, would be, if grandma would be offended by the lyrics, don't play it. Now, I didn't say offended by the style of music. I said offended by the lyrics. Now, as always, it's better to be safe than sorry. Once you get this information, this is yet another good thing to go over with the officials beforehand. The easiest place in a match for playing any music, again, is during those timeouts or the interval between sets when teams switch sides. You'll just have to balance any reads with any music you want to play so you can get everything in. It's a 3-minute break for NFHS matches, but it could be up to 5 minutes to give schools extra time for promotions or special ceremonies, so just be aware of that. At the college level, there are media timeouts for television. A media timeout is called when the first team reaches 15 points in sets 1 through 4, or if it's a fifth and deciding set, that media timeout is called when the first team reaches 8 points. Now, when these come up, you could just say, we have a timeout for media. Then you get into any reading, any copy, or playing some music. Media timeouts at the college level are canceled if a team calls an individual timeout before the 15-point mark in sets 1 through 4, or the 8-point mark in set number 5. It just goes without saying to check in with marketing at the college level, or your high school athletics director or site supervisor for all of this related to your reads and any music that you're responsible for. So now it's time to get the match started. So what do we say? Well, first, I need to clear up a few things. Volleyball doesn't play games, it plays sets, with the winner of a set being the first team to 25 points and winning by 2. If, for example, let's say the Hornets win the first set, you say something like, Hornets take the first set 25-19. Simple, folks, is always the best. Less is more. High school matches can be played best of 3 or best of 5. If it's a third or fifth set is needed, it's played to 15, and again, you have to win by 2. Check with your local or state association to see how many sets are in a match. If you also announce a JV match, that's usually best of 3. For NCAA and USA volleyball matches, it's played best of 5, still to 25 points, winning by 2. If a fifth set is needed, it's played to 15 points, still with the winner needed to win by at least 2 points. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's get right to work to know what to announce after each point. Now remember, we are not there to do play-by-play. That job belongs to somebody else. We are reporters. We're tour guides. We're there to tell people what just happened and then get out of the way of the match. You could do an excellent job announcing volleyball just by sticking to the basics. Again, check with the SID or the high school athletics director to see what they expect of you. Now, as for these basics, there's acknowledging the serve to put the ball in play, the ensuing play, the official signal that results in a point awarded to either team. The best way that I've discovered to announce the results of a play is to think of it as a sentence. The lead referee signals what happened, then points to the side of the net for the team to award the point. Now let's use an example to begin with, something like a spike not returned for a point. You would see the number of the player that spiked the ball. That's on us to see. Then you check the line official to see if they point their flag down, meaning the ball was in. And when you see the lead official on the ladder point to the team getting the point, you would say something like, kill Langen, point Hornets. You would not say something like, oh my, what a kill shot by Langen. No. To quote the great Joe Friday, just the facts, ma'am. Remember my sentence example? Well, the kill happened first. Langen was the one who hit the kill. You then saw the official say that the ball was in, and the lead official on the ladder pointed to the Hornet side, awarding the point. So you announced in the sentence, "Kill by Langen, point to the Hornets." The kill happened first, the point was awarded second. So you say it in that order. Now let's take an example of a blocked kill attempt that is not returned back by the spiking team. When you see who made the block, remember that's on us. Then the line referee signaled that the blocked ball landed in bounds, and you see the lead official point to the blocking team. You can say in your sentence, "Block by Nager, point to the Panthers." Again, you're saying this in the form of a sentence. The block happened first, so you announce the block first. Block by Nager. The point was awarded after the block. Remember, you saw the official on the ladder then point to the Panthers' side of the net, so your second part of that sentence is point to the Panthers. It goes without saying that you say this complete sentence only after that lead official has finished making their signals. You could also announce who's serving after each point. When the offense strings multiple points together, I like to still announce the server each time. I like to do that this way simply to give some credit to the offense for putting a run of consecutive points together. Some of you out there don't announce serves when it's consecutive from the same person. I guess that's just personal preference. I just like to do it. How about a serve landing out of bounds? You see the line official raise their flag, meaning the ball was out of bounds. And then you see the lead official on the ladder signal that the ball was out, and then point to the team getting the point. You simply say, "Service error, Eagles, point to the orange." You say the team name, Eagles, not the server's name. The same for an attacking error. Say a kill attempt that lands out of bounds. Instead of saying, "Attack error, Smith, point to the Terriers," you just say, "Attack error, Eagles, point Terriers." I suppose you could announce who served out of bounds or set it out of bounds, but I feel that's not needed, nor is it really necessary. I see it as we aren't there to point out mistakes on a personal level, but to give credit to positive events personally. I hope that makes some sense. Terms like service error, or attack error, or kill Smith, block Jones, those are all basic calls that you could use throughout the match. You're reporting what happened. There was a service error, or there was a kill shot for a point. Announcing the basics is just a way it's just fine and can be a great place to start for a beginning volleyball PA announcer. Now we'll get into some more official signals later on and how you can add them to your announcements as well. What about all of the substitutions coming in and out of a volleyball match? Just like basketball, where the substitutes report to the scores table and hopefully close to us, volleyball substitutes report to the substitution zone, the area near the net on their side of their team bench. Now, when you see this, you can make a note on your rosters for each player coming in. Remember how earlier we said, how else are you going to use your roster besides for starting lineups? Well, here's a way. Personally, I like to draw a small circle next to the name as they enter the substitution zone. Then I color in the circle when that player is beckoned in by the second official. That way, if there are multiple substitutions coming in all at once, I can just read the names of the players that all have the empty circles next to their names. It just saves me a lot of confusion. Many times, a substitution will come in to serve, so it's perfectly fine to say something like, "Will Langen, now in for Jake Angelastro for the Spartans. Langen, now serving." Now, when multiple substitutions do come in all at once, please don't try to sort out who's in for who. Just look at your circles on your roster and read the subs for each team. Don't forget to color in those circles so you don't mistakenly call someone in later that's already in the match. Remember earlier when we said that each game is called a set? Each set is played to 25 points, except for a deciding set, which is played to 15. Well, not always. You have to win by 2. So if one team has 24 points in a set and is serving for the win, you can certainly say something like, "Smith, now serving for the Hawkeyes. Set point for the Hawkeyes." The same goes for a match point. For an NCAA match played best of 5, the team serving has lost the first 2 sets and is 1 point away from losing the 3rd set. You could say something along the lines of, McMahon serving for the Bombers, match point for the Red Dragons. Or, if someone is serving for the win, you could say, Diamond serving for the Red Dragons, match point for Cortland. There is something else to be ready for as a volleyball public address announcer, and that are coaches' challenges. Now, this is only for college matches, not yet at the high school level. There's a whole list of things that a coach can challenge. Basically, they cover whether a player was on a line on the court or for hitting violations. It's best to wait to see a coach hold up their challenge card to see if the official acknowledges the challenge before you say anything. Now, once again, remember earlier when we talked about it being a good idea to meet with the officials before the match? To have them to tell you what the challenge is and what they're looking for in any video review. Officials at the college level may often think to tell television what's going on, but they may not think to tell us as public address announcers, so it's good to go over this before the match. Besides, remember, we're reporters. This is a good example of reporting what's happening. There's nothing more frustrating as a fan, no matter the sport, than to see something happen and not know what's going on. By stepping up with a correct announcement about a coach's challenge in video review, we help alleviate any of that frustration. Let's circle back to learn more about officials and their signals. Just like any sport we announce, it's good to have a working knowledge of official signals. So let's take a look at some of them. Earlier, we talked about some of those basic calls that you can make during a volleyball match. If you're just beginning, well, it's a good idea to stick with those. You can never go wrong with the basics. If you are looking to do more, and I must add, if and only if your sports information director or marketing person at the college level, or your athletics director or site supervisor at the high school level are okay with this, and you can accurately make these announcements before the lead official gives authorization to serve, well then by all means go ahead and give it a shot. First, is that authorization to serve? The lead official will blow their whistle, then point to the side serving, then bend their arm toward the net. At this point, you can say, Langen, now serving. The next one, these all fall under the basic call earlier of attack error. The first one is ball out. The official bends both elbows, bringing their open hands up to their shoulders. Your call would sound something like ball out, point Red Dragons, or that basic call of attack error Bombers, point Red Dragons. And that would also fit. Then there's the caught ball, or lift. The official raises one palm upward. Your announcement would be, ball ruled caught, point Hornets. Then there's double contact. The official on the ladder will raise 2 fingers. Now, one note for NCAA matches. On a team's second hit at this level, contacting the ball more than once with any body part, and that is a single attempt to play the ball, is no longer considered double contact. That is, as long as the ball is next hit by a teammate. Now, this double contact has long been a source of coach-official argument, so the rules recently been changed to alleviate this bone of contention. Your call would simply be double contact Mountain Hawks, point Raiders. Another is net touch by a player. The official on the ladder will move one arm on the side of the team touching the net, moving that arm to the net with an open hand. Again, you would just say, net touch, ruled against the Bison. Point Raiders. Then there's overstep. This is when the center line is crossed or the server crosses their serving line. The official points to the net with a straight arm, then points one finger on the side of the offending team. If it's the server, they point to the server line. Your call would be, overstepping the line, Leopards, point Raiders. Or you could fall back on that basic call of attack error Leopards, point Raiders. Now, one that you'll not see a lot, but it's good to know, is double fault. This is a foul on both teams on the same play. The referee on the ladder will point thumbs up with both hands with straight arms. Your announcement simply would be double fault, point replayed. Another thing to know, and hopefully you won't see a lot of, are cards. These are based on player behavior. Officials may start with a verbal warning to a player for unsportsmanlike conduct, but could, in the estimation of the official, go right to a yellow card. Now this yellow card is a warning, no points are lost. But a second yellow card to the same player in the same set earns a red card. This loses the rally for the offending team and awards a point to their opponent. Now, if the same player gets a second red card in that same set, it earns a disqualification. The official will now hold up the red and yellow cards together. The disqualified player now has 1 minute to gather up their equipment and leave the arena. If they don't leave in 1 minute, the captain is warned by the lead official. And if the player is still not gone after 15 seconds after this warning, the set is defaulted. Your announcements don't have to go into a lot of detail. You can just stick to the basics. For example, yellow card to the Lakers, number 4, Smith. You don't need to get into all the what-ifs associated with a yellow card. If it's a red card and the first in the set, your announcement would say red card Bulldogs, point awarded to the Quakers. If it does escalate to a second red card, you could announce who got the red card and what the results are, saying something along the lines of red card to the Lakers, number 4, Smith. Smith now disqualified and a point awarded to the Mustangs. If your announcement for an ejected player that doesn't leave in a timely manner is red card to the Lakers, number 4, Smith. The set has been awarded to the Mustangs due to the ejected player not leaving the playing area in a timely manner. Now, you say this and other card announcements in a calm but authoritative voice. At this point in the match, the last thing we want to do is to incite people more than they already are. Our role in this situation is to remain calm and hope that other people follow. Injuries happen. Volleyball is no different than anything else. Our job in this case is easy. We say nothing. We don't say a word. If and when we handle music, we don't play music either. The last thing we want to do is interfere with any communication going on the floor with the injured player, whether that be with coaches, athletic trainers, parents, or maybe emergency personnel. When the injured player leaves the floor, whether on their own or with assistance, we stay quiet. We don't say anything about hoping they recover quickly or anything about asking for a round of applause. Just let that applause happen spontaneously and leave it at that. What about other delays? Maybe a scoreboard goes out. Do they have one of those old flip scores ready to go? Will they ask you to say the score after every point? What if something happens to a pole or to a cable or some other equipment issue? While a replacement is being located, ask the site supervisor for an approximate time frame for the repair so you can relay that information to the crowd. If it's a prolonged delay, what's the plan? Is the plan to drop concession prices, keep people happy? Or are there any encore promotions or contests that can have ready that you might have to MC? Now, our job is not to come up with these possibilities. Rather, we are there to communicate whatever other people come up with and to be ready for anything. Now, we have another tutorial specifically related to other delays or safety issues, so check it out. Again, I hope you don't ever have to be involved in these emergency situations, but as always, it's best to be prepared. Now, this next topic is probably something I should have mentioned at the beginning of this tutorial. The action on a volleyball match moves lightning fast. The ball comes fast and furious, and sometimes it seems like that ball is flying at 100 miles an hour. Those hitters are looking for any opening. They really aren't concerned where the shots go after it hits the floor. So, on top of learning the referee's signals and how to quickly announce them, we also have to watch out for volleyballs flying our way. If you're sitting by the net, it may seem safer, but nothing is 100%. I've had to dodge a few of these rockets in my day. So, word to the wise, best to be alert. So, you've announced match point. The point was won and a winner was declared. Now what? Well, here's what I like to do. Take a listen and see what you think. If you'd like it, use it. It'd be a cool compliment for me. If it's not for you, no worries. Well, I hope it gets your wheels turning a bit and gives you something better for your next match. For both high school and college matches, start with the final score. Remember, they are sets, not games. So a team would win 3-1, or 2-1, or 3-0, depending on how it's set up. Then I would thank everyone for attending and supporting the teams. If it's a high school match, I'd add where and when both teams are in action next, and then wish them a safe trip home. It would sound something like this. We want to thank you all for attending tonight's match and for your continued support of high school volleyball at both Orchard Park and at Eden High Schools. Whether you're a fan of Orchard Park Quaker Volleyball and travel to Clarence next Tuesday for a 6 o'clock first serve with the Red Devils, or you are a fan of Eden Volleyball and are right back here next Tuesday for a 6 o'clock first serve with Cleveland Hill. We'd like to remind all of you that all of us associated with Eden High School Athletics ask that you please buckle up and enjoy a safe trip home. Now, if it's a college match, again, I would begin with the final score, followed by thanking them for their continuous support. Then I would say when the home team has their next match. If they're hitting the road, I'd say when and where, and also how our fans can follow them and tune into that match, whether that be on the radio or some form of television. You see, I want to do my part to keep our home fans in touch with our team even when they're not at home, to show them how they can still support the team without actually attending the match. Then I will go on to add when the next home match is and where our fans can purchase their tickets. Then, just like a high school match, I'd finish by wishing them all a safe trip home. Well, folks, thanks for watching this episode of Announcing the Game. I hope I've been able to make you feel a little bit more comfortable about announcing volleyball. For those veteran volleyball announcers out there, I hope you saw something in this that you could add or got you thinking about what you could do to enhance what you already do, again, without ever stepping on the match action. Feel free to browse our website, publicaddressannouncer.org, for more resources and all things public address announcing. Also, feel free to send me any constructive comments to me at my email address here on the screen. I'm always looking for feedback. Once again, thanks for watching this episode of Announcing the Game. I'm Tom Winicky, and I'm looking forward to hearing you on the mic.